Good morning, dreamers. How are you today? I didn't have a dreamers yesterday, not because I owe you one every day, because I don't. It's more for me anyway, just getting my thoughts clear on the day. But I didn't have one because I had a sick grandchild that I needed to take care of. And so I ended up taking her into my work and I put down a little nest of blankets for her. And she just rested and she slept and she watched some Paw Patrol um, but it just reminded me of how when we need care and we need quiet, um, God still works. God still does what God is going to do, even though we're resting, when we're quiet, when we're vulnerable. And that's the beautiful thing about rest is that we can prove that we're able to be vulnerable and trust that God is God and He's going to do what He's going to do. And it reminded me of um, of how we say in Christian circles. There's this phrase that's like, "Well, there's no rest for the wicked." It's from Isaiah 57, and Isaiah doesn't mean that um, we then have to match their anxiety. For instance, I was doom scrolling the other day, as I do, and as that it's a sidetracking method, and the whole world has begun this habit, and it's not a good habit to be in. But anyway, I saw this pastor, and he was talking about how he was chatting after church with a senior lady in their church, and she said, "Pastor, are you resting?" And he says, "Well, I can't take a day off if the devil doesn't take a day off." Right? Just joking and brushing it off with humor. And without laughing, with dead seriousness, she says, "Why is the devil your example? Why is the devil my example?" Wow, that's so true. Why is the devil our example? Now, you can have whatever theology on the accuser you want to have, but seriously, why is the negative our example when the positive, the way of Jesus, was to rest in the middle of the storm? It was to have a sleep in the middle of the storm and not take things into our own hands. That is the way of Jesus, the way of peace, because that Isaiah passage says there's no peace for the wicked. That's what it means. You go right back to what we were talking about before Christmas with Scrooge and Marley in the Christmas Carol. Sorry, in A Christmas Carol, and they when the ghost of Marley shows up, all of a sudden Scrooge can see the spirit world, and he sees that those that were wicked in life, they were doomed to an eternity of wandering the world, seeing things they could have changed but chose not to, and being unable to help mankind. There's going to be a whole lot if that is hell, if that's the afterlife for wicked people, there's going to be a whole lot. There are a whole lot of wandering spirits unable to help the poor, the homeless, the whatever, because they were able to help in life. Remember, mankind was my business, is what Joseph Marley says. And that is the entire thesis of A Christmas Carol. And that is taken straight from Scripture. Love your neighbor. It is how you love God, is by loving your neighbor and yourself. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. And part of loving oneself is to have rest. To not look to the negative for an example, but to look to the way of Jesus as an example. And I think back over the last few years, and rest was hard to find. I had worked so hard to build a restful life. And all of a sudden, with a laugh and a guffaw and a dismissal, that rest was removed from me. If someone is disturbing your rest, that should be the red flag. if you are disturbing your rest. You need to adjust your relationship with yourself and with the one who created you. Can we be vulnerable? The Jewish calendar, this is my favorite thing about the Jewish calendar, okay? The day starts at sundown. Have you ever noticed that about their Sabbath? It starts at sundown. Sundown to sundown. Because the day starts. If you read the poem in Genesis, evening and morning were the first day, right? And so this design of the day starts in the evening. So we have a little bit of activity to do. We're actually winding down in the evening. The majority of people, I realize there's a lot of people that work nights and afternoons, and please bear with me. Society as a whole in North America winds down in the evening, then goes to sleep at night, and then wakes up in the morning. And so the Jewish calendar is designed for our day to start slow, to start with a long nap, sleep. Might be disturbed by having to go pee once in a while, but we go to sleep. We're in the most vulnerable state at the beginning of our day. And when we wake up in the morning, we're joining what is already happening in the world, what God is already doing. And so when we can be vulnerable, that is an act of trust. To lay your head down at night is an act of vulnerability, an act of rest, an act of trust, that I know that although the world is on fire right now, I can rest. I can put my phone down because I am not responsible for the weight of the world. We were not designed for that. And so getting all this information that we can't handle, we're not designed for that. And so to start with rest, to pursue peace, seek peace and pursue it, is another scripture passage that is an instruction. Like, guys, come on. If you want peace, you got to seek it. It's not just going to descend upon you. And so that was what having a sick grandchild reminded me of. That's where my brain went. She had the most wonderful long rest and perked right up and seems to be doing a lot better. So, working things through. And that's what rest can do for you. It can bring healing. So wherever you are, again, even if it's not your schedule, resting. May your mind and spirit and being, the inner you, find rest for your soul. Have an amazing, whatever today is, Thursday? We'll talk to you later. Please know that I love you. Keep your feet on the ground and your head in the clouds. Mwah. Bye.